Yidhari is the second S-rank Rupture unit joining us in the game, and with her being available as a trial character in the new game mode, that also means I can just freely talk about her. So let's talk about Yidhari and how she plays, her pros and cons, her teams, and how good her weapon options are, whether or not she is a good fit for your account, and how she compares to Yixuan, Manato and Miyabi. As a disclaimer, all information about Yidhari and the footage used in this video is obtained from the current live server and hence subject to change until her release. Yidhari is an Ice Rupture DPS who specializes in consuming her own HP to unleash charged basic attacks as well as empowered EX specials, and she converts her lost HP into decibels. Her damage is heavily tied to her current HP. The lower, the stronger she becomes, and while you may expect her to be a spin to win character, well, thanks to her spin multipliers being complete dogshit, that is fortunately not the case. Or unfortunately, depending on your viewpoint, I guess. So let's talk about her kit and how she plays, since, as it is often the case, her kit looks much more complicated than it needs to be. Yidhari is a Rupture agent, and as such, all ice damage she deals is considered sheer damage, and she scales off her sheer force. Sheer force can be obtained through various methods, such as buffs, but by default, 30% of her attack and 10% of her maximum HP are converted into sheer force. The attack conversion is honestly pretty horrible, and in other words, that means Rupture units are HP scalers. Sheer damage always ignores all of the enemy defense by default, and that means Death Shred, Pen Ratio and Flat Pen are completely useless for her. Furthermore, Rupture agents do not have energy. Instead, they have adrenaline, which works exactly the same as energy, except they do not really profit of energy regeneration, and hence they also do not gain adrenaline from the likes of Lucy's ultimate. Lastly, she also begins combat at 60 adrenaline. Let's begin with her core. The lower Yidhari's HP, the more damage bonus she gains, up to 100% when her HP falls below 50%, and that bonus is retained for up to 5 seconds if her HP is restored to 50% or above. Given a normal gameplay cycle, you can expect to always have this bonus at its maximum value active. And lastly, Yidhari's skills also generate a lot less decibels than usual, and instead she gains 10 decibels for every 1% HP lost. Or in other words, consuming 50% HP will grant her 500 decibels. This is very important for a lot of reasons, but to name the two most important ones, first, it means that restoring her HP is very integral to optimizing her, as we will otherwise just miss out on a lot of decibels. And second, because her regular skills generate less decibels, that also means your entire team will have less decibels. The decibels generated by consuming her own HP are not shared to her teammates. I will touch more upon this in my full Yidhari guide, as I need a bit more time to play around to actually make a judgment here, probably worth a mention though. We will not use her regular special dash attack or regular EX special, and while we may or may not use her quick assist, dodge counter or assist follow-up, they all do what we expect them to do, so we won't talk about them any further. Yidhari also features a 3-part basic attack string with the third hit restoring 10% HP, and while we will not use her basic 1 and 2, we will occasionally use her basic 3. Instead, let's talk about her unique resource, Frost's Crushing Weight. Frost's Crushing Weight is, as per usual, this bar right below her HP bar, and holding down her basic attack button will steadily consume her HP while filling up said bar. When releasing her basic attack, she will then start spinning around, dealing continuous ice damage based on her current charge level, finishing the attack with a big slam down. The spinning attack is, as I already said before, very bad, and we do not want to use it like ever. If you expect her to be a spin to win character, sorry to disappoint you. As already teased also, the charge attack has 3 charge levels, with the 3rd level being reached when the bar is full. If at charge level 2, we can press her basic attack at any time during the spinning to chain directly into her basic 3. This not only allows us to restore 10% HP, but will also increase the damage dealt by said basic 3 by up to 30% based on her charge level. But because we gain a lot of goodies from always simply just using her at charge level 3, we only use her charge level 3. And the basic damage bonus also applies after charge level 2, so this is the minimum requirement. At 3 charge levels then, she will gain increased interrupt resistance while spinning, and we can press her basic attack to end the attack early into the finishing smash. This finishing smash can then also directly be followed up with her basic 3, and we never want to use the spinning attack, so in Razor language terms, hold basic until bar full, then press basic twice in succession. Furthermore, while charging or spinning, if Yidhari is attacked, her damage taken is reduced by 25%, and if she is attacked while charging up, she will launch a counter attack, then instantly gain 1 charge level. This text highlighted right here is honestly just not correct, and it is missing a very crucial part, so we will skip it as it is correctly explained in her special attack right afterwards. So let's talk about it. Pressing her special or EX special while spinning or charging will cast her special attack Surging Cold, Crushing Pursuit. It will inflict some damage and trigger an additional effect based on the current circumstance this skill was used in. If the skill collides with an enemy attack, it will trigger Surging Cold. If the skill hits an enemy while stunned, it will then trigger Crushing Pursuit instead. Triggering any of the 2 effects will instantly raise the charge level to the maximum, and when triggering either Surging Cold or Crushing Pursuit, if Yidhari has at least 60 adrenaline or more, we can then press her EX special or basic attack to activate her EX special Glacial Crush. This EX will deal massive damage and daze. Now really, look at those multipliers. Restore 33% of her missing HP, and if used after Surging Cold, also restore 15 adrenaline. Due to this adrenaline restoration, we are able to use her EX at least once outside of the stun window. This EX special can then also be followed up with her Big Slam finisher, and that again can be followed up with her basic 3. Again, Yidhari also has a regular EX special, but it is bad and hence we never want to use it. Her chain attack does what a chain attack is supposed to do, albeit it deals slightly increased damage if used during Ether Veil. As for her ultimate, when reaching 3000 decibels, we cannot actually use it. Instead, after reaching the maximal decibel rating, we first have to use her charge level 3 basic finisher, any EX special or her chain attack, at which point Yidhari will consume 3000 decibels to activate Ether Veil Wellspring. This is exactly the same Ether Veil Lucia provides as well, so I will not explain it any further. Check out my Lucia guide for more information on it. After doing so, she then can use her actual ultimate for free once within the next 30 seconds. Funnily enough, it is well possible to just miss out on this ultimate, as we do want to save her ultimate for the stun window. However, with a bit of planning, this is not an issue, but you mainly will run into this when playing with Jufufu, more on that later. Let's finish her kit with her additional ability. With another character being stun or support, when Yidhari is below 50% HP, she will gain 30% crit damage and also take 25% less damage, and while she is an Ether Veil Wellspring, her charged level 3 basic finisher as well as her EX special Glacial Crush will then also summon tentacles to attack in tandem with her. This effect can trigger every 12 seconds, and these tentacles are also considered EX special damage. A few notes about her tentacles. They count as a separate EX special launch. Think of it like a projectile. This means they will always provide 1 stack for Yunqui Tails and also count for Puzzle Sphere's crit damage condition. The tentacles summoned by her chain and ultimate are only visually present and do not count as EX special. Realistically, due to boss mechanics and parries, we can also expect a tentacle slam around every 14 to 16 seconds and not every 12 seconds. This primarily impacts Puzzle Sphere's uptime, but it is not anything critical, just want to mention it. With that said, let's have a look at her weapons. As per usual for my pre-release analysis, these calculations are not final. To nobody's surprise, her signature is her best in slot, followed by an R5 Grillo Wisp and Yixuan signature Qingming Birdcage. Or in other words, all of the crit rate weapons. And Puzzle Sphere wins out yet again versus Radio Wave Journey. There is honestly not really much to say here for now, but I will touch more upon that in my full guide. So let's talk about her teams. Yidhari is a Rupture agent, and if you didn't expect Lucia to be her best in slot option, I don't really know what to tell you. However, she is not as reliant on her as Yixuan or Manato are, as she can at least provide her own Ether Veil, even if the uptime can sometimes be a little bit finicky. Because of that, Panda is a great option as well. Around 60% of her damage is dealt during stun, so she does appreciate a stunner over a double support composition. Jufufu is Yetari's most comfortable partner and allows you to focus much more on Yetari and her playstyle. However, Jufufu's Decibel Refund can sometimes lead you into missing out on Yetari's ultimate, as you might activate Ether Veil just a little bit too early. Lycon is not only a competitive option for Yetari, if played correctly he can easily match or possibly even outperform Jufufu. As has always been the case for both Manato and Yixuan before, both Chingy and Trigger are great options as well. As a side note for Trigger, Blazing Laurel or Fossilized Core are both better options than her own signature, due to the Death Shred doing absolutely nothing for Yetari. If you are free to play, Cholera and Pan Yunho, Nicole or Lucy will be honestly doing just fine. I would highly recommend Panda over both Nicole and Lucy, but if you really want to play Lucy or Nicole, they are better than not having any third slot partner, I suppose. And while Nicole's Death Shred doesn't really do anything for Yetari, she can at least provide a 15% crit rate at M6, plus whatever your choice of weapon and distress provide. Okay, so, is she better than Miyabi? The answer is yesn't. No, in a vacuum she is not, but given the current insane Rupture buffs and Deadly Assault and Hoyo trying their best to make Miyabi as bad as possible against every single new boss they release, yes, she will do a lot better than Miyabi will, for now at least. However, Yetari also only really has one boss she is good against as of right now, and that being the new 2.3 boss, Wanderer. Technically, she has two bosses, as the marionettes exist as well, but who knows when that boss comes back. Anyway, Wanderer has a very specific mechanic where you gain up to 35% sheer damage bonus. This bonus lasts for 15 seconds and requires either an assist follow-up or a dodge counter to reset the stacks. While Manato can do that relatively easily, especially during stun, Yetari cannot. Hence, I fear that Yetari might lose out on stacks during the stun window, which could make her not much better than Manato in the end. But this will require actual testing versus that boss, and for that I need the content creator server and not the live servers, and I will touch upon this during my full guide when I have had the possibility to do so. Yixuan also does pretty well versus Wanderer, even if her primary boss will be still the Miasma Priest. And that is a pretty perfect segue to answer, should you skip Yetari? As per usual, waifu over meta and all of that stuff. This section is looking at her purely from a meta perspective and literally nothing else. Frankly, if you have Manato and Yixuan, I think Yetari is probably a pretty skippable character. Most Ice Weak bosses such as Marionettes or Butcher are very well handled by the likes of Alan or Hugo for the first and Miyabi for the latter. Manato does pretty well into the Wanderer and the Miasma Priest is ice resistant after all. Of course, all of this does not mean that Yetari is not a good unit. It simply means that ice is already a very saturated type with many alternatives, and due to Wanderer being both ice and fire weak, Manato just does really well here. However, Manato and Yixuan both really like Lucia due to how the buffs require Ether Veil, and Yetari can at least provide that part for herself. So if you have skipped Lucia and hence also Manato somewhat, Yetari might after all not be too bad of an addition to your account. And with that, we are at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has helped you a little bit and you have gotten a little bit more insight into Yetari. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment on your thoughts about Yetari, and join the Discord. A special thanks to my YouTube and Patreon members who make this content possible. If you wish to support me, you will find a link to my Patreon in the description. And as always, I appreciate all of you and wish you a great day. Peace!